The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi everyone, please join us today on Aging Horizons for a really special show. We're going to be talking with first a victim and now an advocate of a terrible scam and crime that any one of us could have fallen victim to. It's so good that we can have people who make their voices heard. We want you to hear her story, so please stay with us.
You've probably seen some big-name celebrities on your TV lately talking about all the Medicare benefits you're missing out on. But the insurance companies who are paying for these ads may be pushing benefits not available in Montana. Fortunately, help is available from a friendly state health insurance assistance program counselor who can help you sort it all out. It's free, and we screen everyone for eligibility regardless of your zip code. It's Montanans helping Montanans. Call today.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare summary notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
Here in Montana, we love our outdoor activities. Unfortunately, few of them are risk-free. Indeed, Montana is second in the nation per capita in head injuries that can destroy the lives of people we love. That's why you should insist your family always wear protective helmets. But you can do even more. When you fill out your vehicle registration this year, circle the Y and donate $1 to support traumatic brain injury prevention and education. Now that's using the old noggin.
Providing long-term care for someone in need is a labor of love, but it is a labor. Time apart is healthy and necessary both for the caregiver and the person receiving care. It allows each a respite, time to relax and recharge. If you're a long-term caregiver, visit the new Lifespan Respite website. Financial assistance may be available. Respite for caregivers. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. It's okay to get it.
Hello everyone and welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Kimmy Everman, and as I said in the open, we have a kind of a serious show today, but awfully good, great information, and you're gonna love this advocate as much as I do when we're done with the show, because she's gone through something terrible that any one of us could have gone through, and has come out the other side and is working diligently to make her voice heard so other people don't fall victim to something like this. We have with us Susan Bivens. Susan, welcome.
Thank you.
And Susan, I wish you would just tell us a little bit about yourself so that we can kind of know you a little bit.
Thank you for having me on.
Sure.
And as you said, I just want people to know this could happen to them.
Yeah.
I am a retired registered nurse. I did my 45 years of nursing career in Northern California, and retired in 2015. Mm-hmm. My son in 2011 had come to Montana Tech to finish his engineering degree, and he and his wife said they weren't coming back to California. So I visited back and forth, and he's my only child.
Yep.
And they bought a house in Anaconda, and so I came and found a beautiful Victorian home that I fell in love with. Bought it the year before I was going to retire. Came in June of 2015, and then my darling granddaughter Abigail Joy was born on August, right after I got here.
How
And
wonderful.
So she's just the delight of my life.
And you're kind of home now,
I
aren't ya?
am. I'm home. I've made Montana my home, and I wanted to be the grandma that lived down the street, not the one that lived across the country.
Yeah, congratulations
And so,
on that, because
yeah.
not everybody gets that.
I know.
And it's a real blessing.
Yeah. So I was looking forward to retirement. I had a good nest egg. I was going to travel and felt comfortable, picked up quilting as a real more of a possession than a hobby.
Yeah, right,
I became possessed.
Yes, yeah.
And I did lots of trips. I did cruises and Mediterranean cruise, and really lots of trips, traveling a lot, and thought this was what my retirement years were going to be like.
And
until
then,
last
until
year.
it wasn't. Yep, until it wasn't. So tell us what happened. How did it begin?
Well, I noticed it actually just a little over a year ago, in the end of May. I noticed some charges on my bank account from Amazon for purchases I did not make. So I contacted Amazon and went through all of the process there of doing a dispute claim to them. But when I spoke to the security person from Amazon, she said, it looks like your account has been hacked, and I recommend you change your account number with us, change your billing information, change your, I used a debit card for payment, and she said, change that card and put it on either a PayPal or a credit card, that's the safest way to do it.
Sure.
So I did all of that, had to go through the whole process of changing all my accounts with my debit card that was linked to the debit card. Got that all done, got my money back. That was over $500 of charges, and so I thought, okay, that's fine. Well, about 3 weeks later, in June, I got a phone call on my cell phone that came up that it was from Amazon. So I answered it, and the very pleasant person said, we've noticed activity on your account again. We knew you had had trouble previously, and we wanted to see, was this you making charges? And at this point, there were several $1,000s of charges on my account. So I said, no, that was not me. And she said, well, this looks like somebody has your information. So I'm going to transfer you to the Fraud Detection Agency with the Federal Trade Commission. So she transferred me to this very pleasant spoken man who was very concerned. He said, oh, this sounds like a fraudulent case. And he gave me a case file number. And he said, I'm going to transfer you to someone with the DEA, an agent that will be investigating this. Still thinking this was legit, he transferred me to, and this person, whose name was Randall Jenkins, he spoke with a very thick British accent. Still didn't think anything of it. He took the information, he said he would investigate, he gave me his cell phone number. I said to him, how do I know I'm talking to a government agent? And he sent me via text a copy of his DEA badge with his photo ID on it, and gave me a badge number. So I thought, okay, I've asked the appropriate questions.
You really have.
Yep. So he said he would do some investigation and call me back. So 3 or 4 days later, he did call me on the cell phone. It came up as the agent that was calling, and so at that point he accused me of being involved in a money laundering scheme, and that until I could be proven not to be part of this, I was under government suspicion. And I needed to.
Susan.
It was so terrifying.
I'm sure.
And I needed to keep him informed of where I was, what I was doing, constantly. And he tracked me on my cell phone. He would, just, if I didn't call him in every couple of hours, he would call me and say, where are you? And he knew when I left town to go to Butte shopping that I didn't. And so he was following and, just tracking me everywhere.
Oh, this is very frightening. Don't go anywhere, folks. We want to make sure that you get all the info. Come on back.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
Elder abuse is a growing problem, and it's happening right here in our Montana communities. At least 1 in 10 older adults are victims of physical or emotional abuse, financial exploitation, or neglect. To get help or report elder abuse, call your local area agency on aging or Adult Protective Services at 1-844-277-9300.
Today, class, we'll be discussing the term ombudsman, a word we borrowed from the Swedes and never gave back. Say you're a resident or you have a loved one in long-term care. Now, what do you do if you're not happy with the care and services you receive? You call your long-term care ombudsman, of course. Your ombudsman is available to support you and your rights. An advocate on your behalf could be the ticket. This is your home. If you have questions, the numbers right there below me have all the answers. Class dismissed.
I was angry and upset when the doctor told me I have diabetes. I just didn't want to deal with it, the needles and the diet restrictions. But after I started to learn about it, those feelings changed. I was at risk for a heart attack caused by high blood sugar. That got my attention. I started watching my diet and making sure I got enough exercise every day. I want to be around for my grandkids, and now that I know what to do, it seems like a small price to pay.
Ask your doctor about diabetes education or visit montana211.org.
Oh, hi everyone. Welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here with Susan Bivens, and Susan is sharing a terrible crime that was committed against her, a financial fraud, and is hoping that she can maybe reach one person who will be saved from this terrible experience. Susan, so good to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, so when we left, you were money laundering.
Yes.
What happened after that?
Well, as I said, he wanted me to keep constant reporting to him where I was going, what I was doing, and whatnot. This went on for a couple of weeks. Then he came back and said, well, we've cleared you. You're not part of a money laundering. Originally, he had said several accounts had been open all across the country with my name, bank accounts and credit cards and whatnot. But he came back, said, no, you're not, so we want to protect you now because the culprits have your information. At that time, he gave me my Social Security number and my date of birth. I had never given those to him, but he knew them. There again, thinking, well, government agent, he would have access to that.
Yeah.
So thinking, okay, this is legit, we're doing this.
Yeah.
So then he became very sympathetic, and I want to protect you and your money, and these culprits have your information, and so I want you to take all of your savings, your money in your savings account. I want you to go to your local Walmart and transfer the money via MoneyGrams with barcodes that I will send you when you get there.
Okay.
And he wanted it in $5,000 increments. So it ended up being over $20,000 that I did in these 5,000 increments. And he told me they were setting up a U.S. Treasury secured locker for me to put this money into that would be safe. And at the end of this investigation, it would be returned to me via a U.S. Treasury cashier's check.
Okay.
There again, thinking, okay.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then he said, well, we have to protect the rest of your money. And he knew where I had my retirement funds, what account, what institution that I had.
Yeah.
So he said, you need to go and do a wire transfer from your financial institution into your bank account, and then I will give you a wire transfer account for you to send your money, so it would be included in this secure locker.
Sure.
So I did that. It took a little bit of time to get the wire transfer, of course, done. And the money went into my account, and then I wired it to a bank account that supposedly had been set up for this.
Sure. Yeah.
And at that time, my money was gone. But I felt, okay, I would be getting this money back. And he kept saying, you know, we're zeroing in on these culprits that have stolen your information. And as soon as we make an arrest, I will get a DEA agent to bring you a cashier's check. He even printed a copy of the cashier's check and texted that to me. Then he had this one excuse after another. Well, I can't find a DEA agent to come. You know, Montana is really hard to find someone. And give me another week. And, you know, another week. This went on for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I was getting ready to go on a trip. And I said, well, I really would like the money before I go. I was going on this 2-week cruise with family and friends.
Yes.
And I would like to get this settled in the money and whatnot. Oh yeah, we'll have someone. Then it came time to go, and he still didn't have an agent. But all this time, he still kept in touch with me, and he was like my best friend on the phone and text messages. And oh, I've been on a cruise, and they're so wonderful. Because I explained to him I wouldn't be able to be in touch with him on the cruise ship.
Cell service.
Oh, he knew that. Yeah. Yes, he'd been on one and whatnot. So while he said, okay, go ahead and go. I will get this to you as soon as you get back. While I was on the cruise, 2 days before we were due to be back in Montana, I checked my checking account, and someone had wire transferred $4,600 out of my account without my approval.
Yeah.
I immediately contacted him to ask him if he had done that, and he got real defensive. We don't have your bank information. We wouldn't have done anything like that. And so I called the bank and put a freeze on my account, explained what had happened, and that I was out of town. I would be back first thing Monday morning. So I went in at that time, and my account only had $400 in it. That was the extent of the money that I had. My savings was gone, my retirement was gone.
And how much was the retirement?
Well, altogether, they got $240,000. So yeah. So anyway, then that was the first time that, and he had told me very clearly from the very beginning, do not tell anybody what's going on. First, because I was under suspicion. And then secondly, because you didn't know who you could trust, that it could be a family member that was stealing from you, whatever. So I went almost 2 months without saying anything to anybody, and on a cruise with close friends and
your
family, and not saying anything.
It must have been excruciating.
It was horrible. And I was, I went through the terror of being arrested and the agony of knowing this was going on. I went in first thing Monday morning to my bank. They talked to me about, I told her she was the first person that I told. She said, you need to go report this to law enforcement. They gave me the $4,600 back because the money had been transferred without my approval. Unfortunately, the retirement and the other money, it was all taken out with my say-so.
Yeah.
So I didn't get that money back.
Susan, that is a tough story. We really appreciate you giving us the details. And when we come back, folks, we're going to talk about what you do if this happens to you and how Susan handled it. Come on back.
I was outside working on some equipment, nothing too strenuous. I started sweating and feeling out of breath.
When he felt pressure in his chest and aching in his arms, I knew we had to call 911.
First responders were there before we knew it. 38 minutes later, the doctors had restored the blood flow to my heart.
Now we know dialing 911 saved his life.
Your life is on the line.
This message sponsored by Mission Lifeline Montana.
I take care of my wife at home. When I found out training was available, I said, sign me up. It's made a huge difference.
When my husband was injured at work, it was life-altering. The class has taught me that it's okay to grieve, to ask for help, and to better cope as a caregiver.
My dad lives 4 hours away. and the Powerful Tools classes taught me that it's okay to ask for help. I highly recommend them.
To find out about this course for caregivers, go to powerfultoolsforcaregivers.org.
It's amazing the difference a little training can make.
Out here, we love our animals, from the wildlife to the livestock. Inside, it's the same. They're just like family. We keep them happy and healthy, most of the time. Secondhand smoke puts pets at risk for cancer, feline lymphoma, vomiting, increases the risk of tumors and lung cancer, even causes eye and skin disease. Secondhand smoke puts your pet's life at risk.
Did you just text me?
I didn't want to disturb you if you were sleeping.
Sleeping? I'm sitting right next to you, silly.
There you are. Hey, I found a couple of Medicare helping programs online that I think we ought to look into.
It says if we qualify, we can get help paying for our prescription drugs. Oh, and there's a program that can help pay our Part B premium.
To learn more about extra help and Medicare savings programs, call your local SHIP counselor today.
Maybe I better text him.
Hi folks, and welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here talking with Susan Bivens, who is a victim turned advocate of a financial crime. Susan, so you know the money's gone now, and you realize that this was a fraud on you and a crime. What do you do?
Yeah, well, that was hard. I first of all had to figure out how I was going to live financially.
Sure.
Well, first of all, I had to report this to law enforcement. So I went to the local police department, filled out reports, got information of who to contact, filled out a report that came from the Department of Justice for the state of Montana, and that got reported. Then, because the local PD agent, detective, was not able, he felt very overwhelmed by this.
I bet.
He referred me to FBI office in Missoula, and I was assigned an agent. However, I had no contact with that FBI agent during this whole process, which was very disturbing.
So you did try to contact them?
I did.
But they weren't,
But you fill out,
responsive.
part of the things were to fill out reporting with the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. It's a data gathering, it's not an investigative thing. The FBI office told me to go online and fill out the IC3 form, which is there again, a data reporting, not investigating.
Okay, and then there's a big difference.
Yes, there is.
Because you're not going to get a crime solved under this. This is data gathering so that they can hopefully get their services a little better.
Right. Yeah, and that was frustrating because it was like nobody seemed to want to do. And I kept all of the text messages, all of the receipts, the wire transfers, the account numbers, thinking somebody would come and investigate.
Sure.
I even kept Randall online for 2 or 3 weeks after this. I told him I had gone to the FBI. I told him I'd filled his reports out, thinking somebody would try to track it and whatnot, but that didn't happen. So then I had to tell my family, because I knew I was not going to be able to live without my retirement money. I would have to live just with my Social Security income, which as an RN, I made good Social Security, but that was going to be it. I didn't have any backup. And I had this beautiful home that I knew I had to sell because I couldn't afford to live in it. The payments would be too much. And I knew to sell the home, I had to tell my family and friends why I was selling my home.
Of course.
So I called my sister, had her get my brothers on a conference call, and I explained what had happened there. They were very supportive. My sister's comment was, how could we have spent 2 weeks together on a cruise and you not tell me this was going on?
Too terrified.
It is. I was terrified, and I was embarrassed, and when I realized that maybe this was a scam, that I had got suckered in, I was so ashamed that this happened to me. But everybody, and then of course I told my son, and then friends and whatnot, and everybody has been so supportive. And then I just felt I needed to start talking about it. And so I contacted our local editor for the Anaconda Leader. He came and did an interview and put an article in the paper.
How great.
And then from that Butte paper put an article in, and then NBC Montana came and did an interview, and it was on TV. And then someone from the Attorney General's office in Montana contacted me to be a part of the Adult Protective Awareness Day. So I've done a few more speaking, and I've gone to churches and clubs, and I'm just trying to get the word out because there's so many things that had I known. First of all, Amazon does not call you.
Right.
Secondly, if anybody says don't tell anybody, that's a big red flag right there. And you know you hear it, but when you're in the middle of thinking you're dealing with a government person, had I gone into one of any of my three, the credit bureaus, my name was not being used in any accounts. My credit was fine there.
But you didn't know to
I
do
did not
this.
know to do this. I did put a freeze and a security freeze on all three of my credit bureaus, so no one can use my name to open up accounts without my authorization. So that's a big key thing to do, and you have to do it every year because they only do it for a year. There was just, and then DEA never sends you copies, and government agents never send you copies of their badge numbers and their IDs and whatnot via text messages.
Well,
Didn't know
that. They call them con men and con women for a reason.
Yes.
They are able to manipulate you and catch on to whatever they hear you say that might be a place they can hang on to.
And these three people obviously are very well trained and very sophisticated, and the amount of time and energy Randall spent in doing what they did to me, and
because that's a big haul for somebody to get, and so no wonder they wanted to. And the other thing that scared me was the fact that he wanted to track you and know what you were doing.
Oh, he knew everywhere I went,
and that he knew all that information and. Well, we just have a minute left, Susan. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For telling us your story. What are your last words of wisdom?
I just want people to know there are resources out there. AARP has a fraud watch, and they also have an emotional support network that you can find out information on. I did not know that until a couple of weeks ago. I have not contacted them, but I will be after this. And just speak up, talk to your family.
They will be supportive.
But don't think that that you're alone in this, because it's happening everywhere.
Well, folks, I mean, that really says it all. Reach out, watch for those red flags, and remember some of the things that Susan told us that were the red flags for her afterwards. For Aging Horizons, I'm Kimmy Everman.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.